Okay, so today's Daf Yomi is Daf Yomi for Kiddushin, Daf Yud Aleph, Kiddushin 11. In today's Daf Yomi, we're going to start in the middle of Daf Yud Aleph, where the Gemara says, around 10 lines from the top, that Beis Shammai had said that a woman is betrothed with a dinar, which is 8 times the amount of a pruta. And Beis Hillel says a woman is betrothed with a pruta. So the Gemara says, "My taimayu de Beis Shammai." Why does Beis Shammai require a dinar? These are, Rashi says, zehuvim, these gold coins, to betroth a woman. And the Gemara is going to actually give 4 different explanations for Beis Shammai. So the first is, says Rabbi Zera, shekain isha makpedes al atzma. A woman is very careful about herself. She says, I'm not going to be betrothed to anybody if it's less than the amount of a dinar. I need a minimum of a dinar in order to be betrothed. So Amarle Abaye, so Abaye says, do you really think that this is the case? Says Abaye, El Me'ata, is that really your argument that a woman will refuse to be betrothed with less than a dinar, and so therefore she can't be betrothed with less than a dinar? If that's the case, what about the Bante de Rabbi Yanai, the Kaptan Anavshaya? What about the daughters of Rabbi Yanai who are so careful about themselves? They require 3 they require tarkava in order to be betrothed, which is 3 kabin. So what would you say in that case? But the hachinami, would you say the pashta? Would you say that in this case the pashta yada of a kibla chad zuze me'achar hachinami du'avi kedushin? Would you really say that since they are so careful to only be betrothed with 3 tarkava, 3 kavin, which is 3 kavin of dinarim, would you say that if they stuck out their hand to be betrothed from somebody for only a zuz, would you say that too it's not even acceptable? So the Gemara explains, Amarei pashta yad v'kibla lo kamina. The Rabbi Zera says, no, I'm not talking about a case where she stuck out her hand and received it. If she stuck out her hand and received it, then indeed she'd be betrothed, even if it was only for a zuz, a minimum of a pruta. Ki kamina de kacha belayla, or inami de shavya shliach. I'm talking about a case where she didn't see how much money she was getting. For example, the betrothal was at night, or she appointed an agent to accept a Kiddushin on her behalf, and she didn't specify how much it was for. And so therefore, the daughters of Rabbi Yanai, they would require a tarkava de dinari, which is the 3 kavin of dinarim. But if they accept it upon themselves for less, then for sure it'll be a valid betrothal. That's the first explanation of Beis Shammai, that Rabbi Zera says that the woman is careful not to accept it upon herself unless it is a dinar. Rav Yosef says, no, the Tamayo de Beis Shammai is like Rav Yehuda in the name of Rav Asi. The Amar Rav Yehuda Rav Asi, kol kesef ha'amor b'Torah, kesef tzuri, v'shal devreim kesef medina. He says, no, all the times that it says in the Torah the word kesef, that is the kesef of tzuri, this place called tzuri. And if it was the rabbinic term kesef, the rabbinic term for money, that's kesef medina. So let's look at Rashi, or we need Rashi to explain it. Rashi says, in piresh shkolim have a shekel tzuri. If the Torah says you have to pay these shkolim, that means the shkolim of tzuri. But if they just said it stam, if it doesn't specify, then it's the smallest coin in tzuri. And if it was rabbinic, shal devrayim, that's kesef medina. That is the kesef of the regular country. So Rashi explains, Kamam Mefarashah Kesef Medina, this term Kesef Medina, that is 1/8 of the Kesef Tzuri. So if it's a sela, it's 1/8 of a sela of Tzuri. And if it's a dinar, it's 1/8 of a dinar of Tzuri. And so therefore a pruta, well, Matisle, Marafishihina Shal Nachoshes, Uvitsuri Matbea Shal Nachoshes Leka. Therefore it's not talking about a pruta, because a pruta is made out of copper, and in Tzuri they didn't have copper coins. Kiddushin, because by Kiddushin, kesef ksiv, it says it's referring to kesef or silver or money, because there it says kicha kicha kamiri from the field of Ephron. The kimvin da afikte mi pruta. So since we're clearly not talking about pruta, we're talking about kesef. Alma midi de chashivos by Rashi says we need something that's more distinguished, and so therefore we establish that it's a dinar, and the smallest dinar is a tsuri dinar, which is 8 times the size of a pruta. So the Gemara, so that's 2 explanations. The first explanation is that a woman would not be betrothed with less than a dinar in general. And the second explanation is that the Torah refers to money in general. It's referring, biblically speaking, to kesef tsuri, which is 8 times the size of a pruta. And so the Gemara now analyzes the statement. Gufa Amar Yehuda Marvasiko kesef Amar B'Torah kesef tsuri v'shal devrayim kesef medina. But if it's rabbinic, it's kesef medina. So Gemara asked the question, Uklalahu, is this really a general rule that all the places where it mentions in Torah money, that the reference is to kesef tsuri and not kesef medina? So the Gemara says, V'harei Tana, but what about the case of Taina? Again, here we're going to turn to Rashi to explain to us what this means. Taina is if a person makes a claim against his friend, and then since he makes a partial admission, the friend, we make him swear on a partial admission. And about that, it says that in case of Modeh b'mixas, a partial admission, the Torah says you have to swear. And what's the case? Ki yitin ish al re'ehu kesef o kelim lishmor. The pasuk says, if you give to your friend money or utensils to guard, and they are stolen from the house, and then it says, V'tanan, then under those circumstances, he has to take an oath if he makes a partial admission. So the Mishnah tells us in Masechah Shavuos, Utanan Shavuos Hadayanin, that this oath that the judges make this person swear in a case of partial admission. How is it the case? Hatana shtei kesef. Let's say the claim is that you owe me 2 kesef. Va'hodah shava pruta, and the admission is just a pruta. And so there we make him swear. And so therefore we see from here, from the fact that it says in the Mishnah in Shavuos, that the claim is for 2 kesef. So we see from here, when you say that anytime the Torah says kesef, it means kesef tsuri, but it can't be, because in this case we're talking about 2 kesef, not 1 kesef. So therefore, we're seeing from here that Me'at Tsuri is two and not 1. So how can you say it's always 1? So the Gemara says, well, that case is different. Hasam dumya de kelim. There, it's similar to the case of utensils, because the pasuk says kesef o kelim lishmor, money or utensils, and we say ma kelim shnayim af kesef shnayim. Just like utensils are 2, also money is 2. Ma kesef davar chashuv, and just like money is something that it is chashuv, it has to be something distinguished. Av kelim davar chashuv. So too, the kelim is something that is chashuv. And so therefore, that's how we get the amount of 2. So it has to be something that is worth 2 kesef, Rashi says. So, and why do we get this? Rashi explains, and that's why we're using this case. So the Gemara now gives another question. But what about Meiser? How can you say that anytime the Torah says kesef refers to 1 coin from tsuri, 1 kesef tsuri, which is a dinar? But the Gemara says, but what about the case of Meiser? Meiser d'chsev v'tzarta kesef biyadcha, that you will, when you want to redeem your Meiser, you take the Meiser and you redeem it onto the kesef that is in your hand, and you go to the place of the temple. But Tanan haporet sela mimos meiser sheni, and we learn in the Mishnah in Meseches. We learn in the Mishnah in Meseches meiser sheni. Haporet sela mimos meiser sheni. Somebody has in his house copper coins that he redeemed during the year, the fruits of the meiser sheni on it. and they come to the value of a sela of kesef, then in order to make it easy upon himself, he's able to switch all these, all these copper coins with a silver coin, and he's able to go up. So we see from here that he's able initially to redeem the Meiser Sheni onto copper coins and not silver coins. Meaning, say he can initially redeem onto copper coins, and if the copper coins become too much, he can transfer onto silver coins. So the Gemara says, Kasef HaKasef Riba. That case is different. The case of Meiser Sheni is different because it says in that pasuk, V'nosata b'kasef, v'tzarta kasef, and nesata kasef. So since it says the word kasef there multiple times, riba, it's telling us that there in that case you could redeem it even onto copper coins. The Gemara says, but what about? We have another question. Vare hektish. What about hektish? It says about the sacred property. V'nasan hakasef v'kamwo. It says if you want to redeem the hektish, you can place the money, and then you could redeem it. V'nasan hakasef v'kamwo. So we see from here that you're able to do it. This actually, we should just note that this pasuk, v'nasan hakasef v'kamwo, it's not an actual verse. It's really a conglomerate of multiple verses, because really the verse says v'yasef chamishis kasef erkacha alav v'kamwo. So it's not really v'nasan hakasef v'kamwo, but that's the implication of the verse. So and the Amar Shmuel hektish shava manes shachilu ashava pruta mechulal. And Shmuel says you could even redeem it onto a pruta. You don't need a dinar in that case. And so we see from here how so you're even able to do it on a coin that is not a kasef, that's not kasef tsuri. So how could we have that earlier statement? So the Gemara says also nami kasef yalif meiser. No, there too we take the word kasef that appears by hektish and we compare it to meiser, and that's how we're able to do it. Gemara says, what about Kiddushin Isha? What about the betrothal of a woman? About the betrothal of a woman, it says, Ki yikach ish isha u'ba'ala. It says, when a man takes a woman and he marries her, v'gamar kicha mistei Ephron. And we learned kicha from the fields of Ephron. And on the very first Mishnah in our tractate, v'tanam besil omer b'pruto b'shava pruta. So you're able to learn that you're able to betroth the woman with a pruta or a shava pruta. So if that's the case, why is Rav Asi saying that it needs to be with a dinar? So the Gemara says a very obvious answer. It's a head scratcher why they even asked in the first place. Gemara says if that's the case, and if you want to say, do you want to say that Rabbi Asi is holding like Beis Shammai? The name of Rav Asi, the Amar Beis Shammai. Do you really want to say that Rav Asi is holding like Beis Shammai, who says that you need to do with a dinar? Why would Rav Asi want to hold like Beis Shammai when you're supposed to hold like Beis Hillel? So the Gemara says, Ela Yitmar. So Shkoyach. So Ela Yitmar. So the Gemara asks the question: if you want to give an answer, if indeed Rav Asi wants to give the answer, that why do you need the kasef of tsuri, we have to say it's the following: that if he wants to answer it, so if indeed we want to say that, like the Rav Asi says, that you need the kasef tsuri, hachi itmar. This is what he learned. This is what Rav Asi learned. Amar Rav Yehuda, Amar Rav Asi, kol kasef katzuf ha'amor b'Torah. Anytime we have a fixed amount where it says the word kasef in the Torah, that is going to be a reference to kasef tsuri. Meaning to say, like when it says in the Torah, sometimes chamishim kasef that you give to a besula who was ma'anes, or you give 30 kasef for somebody who kills an Evet Kanani. These have to be done by kasef tsuri. V'shel devreim, and any time where the rabbis have a fixed amount, that's kasef medina. That refers to the kasef that is 1/8 of the kasef tsuri. So the Gemara says, well, my kamashman. Well, what's the chiddush? And what Rav Asi was saying, Tanina, isn't this an open Mishnah in Bechoros where it says chamesh slaim shel ben ushloshim shel eved and chamishim shel ones v'shel mefata and mea shel motzi shemra kulam b'shekel kodesh b'manet suri. It says it explicitly in the Mishnah in Bechoros that when we have the 5 selah of the pidyon of Ben, the 30 selah of the Eved Kenani who you kill, the 50 of the ones if you are ma'anes in the ara, or the mefata, the 50 which you give to the father of the girl who you were mefata, or the may of the motzi shemra, all of them are paid with shekel kodesh of the tzuri monah. So why does it need to be specified by Rav Asi? It's a clear chiddush. The Gemara says yes. It's not a chiddush. The Gemara says yes, you're correct. That's not a chiddush. But what is a chiddush of Rav Asi is shal divreim kesef monetz strichoi. The chiddush is teaching us that if it was a rabbinic amount, then you pay with the kesef medina, which is 1/8 of the kesef tzuri. The lo tanan, because the Mishnah didn't explicitly say this. And the Tanya, because we learned in a brayso, if somebody blasts the shofar into his friend's ear, and as a result of this embarrassed him, that's one explanation. Some say it means he hit him on his jaw next to his ear. No sein lo sela. He gives him a sela because he embarrassed him. V'lo tema, and we don't want you to say my sela arba zuzi, and don't think that the sela is 4 zuz. Meaning to say, Ella my sela. What is a sela? Palga de zuzi. The sela is half of a zuz. It's a coin that's worth half of a zuz. And this is the sela medina, which is 1/8 of a tzuri. Davidi inish the karo palga de zuzi istera, because people called this half zuz an istera, which is 1/8 of a tzuri of a dinar. And that's what Rav Asi is being mechadesh, that if you strike your friend with if you blow the shofar in his ear, that's what you have to pay him. That's the amount you have to pay him. So far we've seen 2 explanations for Beis Shammai. We saw the first one, that the isha is makpedes, a woman is careful not to be betrothed with less than a dinar. Or the second is that Beis Shammai is of the position that when it refers to the Torah to an amount, that it refers to that amount is a dinar. Reish Lakish says, "Time of the Beis Shammai kidda Chizkiya." Reish Lakish says the explanation of Beis Shammai is like Chizkiya. Amar Chizkiya, Amar Krada. Chizkiya says, what does the pasuk say? Vehefta melamed shemigaras mipejuna. Beis Shammai's explanation is it's based upon the pasuk which says, with respect to Eved Ivri and Ama Ivriya, that you're able, this Hebrew female maidservant, she's able to redeem themselves and to go free before the time where their service is up by paying the redemption money, which is the money that they were originally bought for, deducted by the amount of time that they worked. And so therefore, how do you do this? Amar Kra, the pasuk says, you diminish the amount that her father received on her behalf, and you diminish it by the number of years that she's worked for Yotza. And then she goes free. And so says the Gemara, if you want to say that father initially received a dinar on her behalf, there it's possible to say, okay, she served this amount of time, we'll deduct it from a dinar and pay ad pruta, but there's no amount that's less than a pruta, so you pay until a pruta. If you want to say that the father received a pruta for her initially, mi pruta, mi megara, you can never diminish the pruta. So then this concept of giraon kesef would never be able to apply to an Amma Ivriya in this circumstance, and it always has to be able to apply. And so therefore, it must be that the initial amount is a dinar. That's the explanation that Reish Lakish says. So the Gemara challenges Reish Lakish. Maybe this is what the Torah is saying. Maybe where you gave her a dinar, then we're going to say it gets diminished until a pruta. But where he gave her a pruta, then she can't be released in this manner. She can never be released if she was bought for a pruta, but through giraon. There, she can only be released in the other manners. The Gemara says, no, it's not. We're not going to adopt that approach. we're not going to say that because dimya to yud. It's because we're really the ama ivriyah, the gira own, the diminishment has to be similar to the case of yud. My yud afagav di bay miyay di bay lo miyay. Just like with yud, the husband has to have the ability to do yud or not. If the husband doesn't have the ability to marry her, then it's not a valid sale. So too here also, if he's not able to diminish the money, if she's not able to diminish the money and get her freedom that way, then it's not a valid sale from the beginning. So the Gemara says, well, the Kiddushin isha lebei Shammai nafku me'ama ivriya. So if that's the case, Beis Shammai should learn out the betrothal of a woman from this case of ama ivriya. Ma ama ivriya bepruta lo mekanya, af isha bepruta lo mekacha. And Beis Shammai learns out this case of the ama ivriya, this case of Kiddushin with the dinar from ama ivriya. Just like an ama ivriya doesn't work with a pruta, so too Kiddushin should not work with a pruta, but require a dinar. Gemara says, "Ve'ema palga the dinar, ve'ema shtei prutos." Well, from Beis Shammai's position, it's not clear that the minimum amount is a dinar. Maybe it's a half a dinar. Maybe it is 2 prutos. Why did we say specifically it has to be a dinar? Gemara says, "No. Kiven da'fikte mi pruta ukma dinar." Once we said it's no longer a pruta, we then go to the next amount, which is a dinar, the next basic amount. Then the Gemara brings a fourth explanation. Rava says, "Hainu time of the Beis Shammai." No, this is the explanation of Beis Shammai. What's the explanation of Beis Shammai? Explanation of Beis Shammai is Shaloyu benos Yisrael hefker. We don't want to compare the daughters of Israel to hefker. That you can be that the betrothal can take place with the smallest amount, and so therefore Beis Shammai is speaking, and therefore is actually speaking in this amount that we don't want the daughters of Israel to be betrothed with the smallest amount, and so therefore the Afkinu Rabbanal Kiddushin Apachut Midinar, the rabbis uprooted this Kiddushin that they take place with less than a dinar, and so that's okay. That's the concept. Those are the 4 explanations, and from today's daf yomi. Shkoyach to everybody. Shkoyach.